when you mentioned the immigration initially, I wanted to ask you the issue of data management. I mean, a database. Do we have a database that the police, those working internally, and even the immigration can work with?
It's not showing. It's not showing. If we do, it's not showing. You see, one thing I love about data is data allows me to sit on it. When I was in school, we used to have these books we read for exams. They say economics at a glance, accounting at a glance. You know, you just pick it up, you open it, and everything is there. That's what data does for you, at a glance. I do my own data on the figures as they involve the attacks, as they involve deaths, as they involve, I can tell you since Buratai took over how many attacks we have. In 2015, how many attacks we've had, post-inauguration, how many, from 13th July when he was appointed, how many. Then you begin to see surge, you begin to see relapse, you begin to see a lot of things, and then you can pick those small areas that seem to bring in more, you know.
But in this case now is identity data.
Identity data.
Nigerians, how many Nigerians, or where are the Nigerians, who is coming in, who is leaving?
Exactly.
Do we have enough of that kind of data?
We don't. I dare say we don't. And if we do,
would that be
it's
a
not
minus,
showing.
even in this battle to end insurgents?
Everywhere, it will be a minus, any way you choose to look at it. You see, we're in the information age. Man has evolved so widely in the last 20 years that you cannot police people manually anymore. Take an example, immigration. If you actually wanted to count people, or you wanted to keep tabs on people and their movements, in the immigration, you are going to be like someone who actually wanted to physically count poultry. If you've been in a poultry and you try to count those chicks, they just keep moving. But what if you had chips on each fowl? It just tells you where it is. The same thing with the immigration. The immigration I see is a manually driven immigration. Take example, the recruitment. When I watched those poor children, you know, falling over each other for jobs, I was laughing. And my wife was not finding it funny. She was annoyed. But you see, why didn't you just zone them over 2 weeks and give each one a day, and even within that day, give him a time slot for when to come for his interview, the way our medical doctors do? And so probably in every 1 hour, you're going to be seeing 50 people for the next 1 month or 2 months across maybe 3 states. But that wasn't done. That you saw people trying to do things physically. I saw immigration officials in there sharing papers and doing a lot of things that were just age obsolete. Now, when we're talking about doing things electronically, it's not difficult for you to man people electronically. I just told you that if you really wanted to know and you were driven by the will to do it right, then if it means going street for street, we will. For God's sake, we do census. We do polling booths for elections, and we grab resources and bring people out and send them.
Already, I'm seeing that will. I'm seeing that will in the Nigerian military.
Yes,
but the fear now, since we don't have a collective leadership in the people, in communities, how can we bring about that culture to the extent that we must know? Because in other parts of the world, when you pop up in any neighborhood, they know that you are there, whether you're on holiday or not. Someone knows that someone like this is there, and people have the power of description to the extent that children are taught how to describe someone, even from meeting the person for the first time. How can we start having that kind of culture from amongst ourselves to the extent that even for the first time I'm getting to meet you, I can describe you that this is the kind of human I just saw go through my street, then so that the children can also help, everyone can help.
It can be built with prototype. You just start, call it specimen, call it a sample. You could start with one street. You could start with one home. Okay? I mean, the Chinese people say the longest journey starts with one step. And you can decide to isolate, we can decide to isolate your hometown and say, okay, let's make this hometown our prototype. We bring in the stakeholders, this is what we want to do, and we need XYZ days to achieve. Even within your hometown, we pieces it to probably words and streets. And we say, okay, let's start with the first word, which has maybe 10 streets. And when you do it, let me tell you something about successes. When you do it and people see results, they'll subscribe to it. And when they subscribe to it and more people see results, it goes viral. And because you have a prototype, the first prototype, closing it successfully may take time. It may become expensive. But then, as you continue to duplicate it, you get a learning curve. It becomes cheaper and faster. Now, what we try to do in the country is we sit down in Abuja, we do a lot of summits, then we try to start building the house by roofing it first. It doesn't work that way. Take a cue from General Buratai. He didn't sit in Abuja and throw threats at soldiers, the ones running away, you want to try them. No, no, no. He's gone there. He's opened his case on the battlefield. This is a man who addresses troops and even locals in the tongue. You are going to see a connect. Okay, if I entered your place and I greeted your people the way you do, even if I don't say it well, you are going to see some form of amity, warmth. Okay, that's what the chief has been able to do. He's been able to say, I'm open. I'm not different from you. Okay, we have a job to do. How can it be done? That's how it is done. So you find out that if you want to do something and you want it to actually stand properly, to stand the test of time, security-wise we say stand the test of crime, you have to pay attention to the subtleties. If you are building a house, you have to look for the best sand, the best cement, the best. And at the end of the day, the big picture can only be the best picture. Okay? But you don't go look for inferior materials, then at the end of the day, you look for the best paint. You're not going
Captain,
not going to get
same with this
anywhere.
issue of bringing in the people. Right now, some of these insurgents are leaving. For instance, the governor of Kaduna, Kanu rather, was quoted as saying there's a likelihood some of them might relocate to his state. What should be done now?
That's what we're saying, that when the heat was turned on the insurgents in the northeast, basically what any security chieftain within contiguous areas and the region should expect is visitors. He was saying the obvious. Let me give you a typical example. There was some time in 2005, 2006, Malam Nasir El-Rufai turned the heat on Okada riders in Abuja, and Kaduna took the heat. They migrated. And before you knew it, you know, the most lucrative business in Kaduna became riding with motorbikes, just went double. So as a security chieftain in Kaduna State, you don't wait to see it. You should just know it. Because they cannot disappear.
What do you want the governors to do then?
The governors in all those particular states should be calling in their stakeholders, their security chieftains, people in the know. And
Sorry, when you say all those particular states, but I mean, there have been some reported even as far as Lagos.
Yes, Lagos is on the planet, isn't it? If some can leave Nigeria and go and join ISIS, why won't some leave the Northeast and come to Lagos? You know, it's a wind of ill that blows no one any good, but it blows anyway. So you begin to sit down with your chieftains, with people in the know, and you moot a scenario. Okay, let's assume in fact they have come, all of them, to the last one here. What should we see ourselves doing? Where should we be? So this issue of...
More like a drill.
Exactly. This issue of crawl, walk, then run, it's obsolete. You hit the ground running. If you do that, as in anticipate, and when you anticipate, what do? You prepare. When it comes, you will contain it. But if you are not prepared, the time it takes for you to recover from the shock of surprise is actually the lethal time it takes them to dig in. So it's one big ongoing affair that, for me, affords us opportunity to learn, to become smarter, to become wiser.
Very quickly, before we go, let's talk about the Chibok girls. Recall on this program we have asked the big question with the, spate of suicide bombings being carried out by girls. And now we get into hear stories from some of those that have been rescued saying that we just might not be too lucky to find the Chibok girls the way we had expected. What's your thinking on that? It's always a difficult thing to talk, knowing for we have so many families that are in pain as we speak.
It's a very unfortunate situation, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. But no less, we have to swallow it. Yeah, we have to swallow it. The hope there is, it won't kill us, but it will make us stronger and wiser. Let me tell you something about the Chibok girls that worried me from the beginning. When this issue of 217 or so, or was it 270 something, when it started, the shenanigan that greeted it, it made me wonder whether those in power then had children. People were coming out to say all manner of things about these girls. People were coming out to they turned the whole thing to comedy. And with each second, with each minute that passed, the farther they drifted from us. Today we're talking about recovering all of them. That's one big dream. Let me tell you why. From my database, I remember seeing somewhere, I logged it, where drugs, narcotics, barbiturates, stimulants were arrested in bulk with some people who were supplying this what do you call them now, insurgents. And I know, for example, that in places like Liberia and Congo, those child soldiers were attractive to rebels and insurgents, because when they dose these children with drugs and give them guns, they do anything they are told. They are first of all traumatized, they are beaten, they are abused, they are scared, then they are drugged, and off they go. So what are the chances that these Chibok girls were not actually what you can call, with all due respect now, work in process? A stock of young, healthy, underage girls, vulnerable, whom we could actually bully, then drug up and use. Is there possibly a correlation between the use of consistently female young children and the number of girls we've lost and are looking for? Those are the issues. And that's what I said, that when you don't prepare, the downtime between when it happens and when you respond is very key. It happened and it took us in fact, over 500 days now, because nobody was prepared. Preparation is a function of so many things. We must be able to address that ongoingly. We shouldn't wait for it to happen, then we prepare. No.
Retired Captain Umar Aliyu, thank you for sharing your views with us on this matter on the insurgency.
You're welcome.
Sunrise, we'll take a moment to look at some of your tweets now on the program.